Welcome to Bahrain, an unexplored territory for Formula One. The brand new £100 million circuit has sprung from nowhere, and it's ready in time for the first Bahrain Grand Prix. Hello there. So this compact kingdom in the Gulf has got its first Grand Prix. They've taken just 16 months to create this magnificent new facility so we can go racing in the desert. They've met their deadline as well, April the 4th, 04. Well, in the build-up to qualifying, Jenson Button picks up very much where he left off in Malaysia. On Saturday morning, Button, boosted by that first podium at Sepang, goes quickest in both practice sessions in the BAR. He's smooth and very confident and seems set for a spot high on the grid. Unlike Kimi Räikkönen, with McLaren claiming their engines aren't failing, the Finn has big problems on Friday that force a change of engine and an automatic 10-place demotion. The Ferraris aren't blowing the rest away, though. In qualifying proper, Rubens Barrichello pulls a lap out of the bag on the changeable circuit. The Brazilian saying it's only reasonable, but it's fast enough for the front row. Then a double blow for Button. Teammate Takuma Sato goes quickest in the BAR. Button about a second off his expected pace, and that means row 3. Fernando Alonso's hampered by brake problems in front of the watching King of Spain. A dismal lap finishes with him running wide and needing another lightning start. Räikkönen opts not to run, McLaren saying that suits their race strategy. By his standards, Michael Schumacher has a scruffy lap, on the limit and occasionally over, but he's quickest in the last sector for his 58th pole. But Montoya's finish costs him dearly. He has a problem at the last corner, but at least he'll start from the clean side of the grid. Alongside Ralf Schumacher, Williams' bosses telling their feuding drivers the opposition is ahead, not next to them. So it's the Ferraris, BMW, Williams and the BARs side by side. Trulli ahead of the improving Toyotas. Coulthard makes the top 10. Klein, the Austrian, out-qualifies Jaguar teammate Mark Webber. He was on the front row last time. Räikkönen yet to finish this season on the back row with Baumgartner. And Heidfeld also demoted, all three needing engine changes. A big change in the weather for race day as well. Windy and overcast. Enjoy the best of the first Bahrain Grand Prix with Martin Brundle and James Allen.
3 lights, 4 lights, and the first ever Grand Prix in the Middle East is go! Anyone making a break for it? Look at the Toyota through the middle. Jenson Button and Takuma Sato away well. It looks like the 2 Ferraris have got it comfortably though into turn 1. Good start though from Jarno Trulli. He's up into 4th place as one of the Williamses goes around the outside of Rubens Barrichello. Can't make it stick though, and everybody's safely through.
VAR then up into 4th place. And Sato then up into 4th. And Trulli doing well too. Ralf Schumacher just bullying his way through then at turn 4, and that will then be 5th place. So 2 Ferraris out front then, and one stretching a lead already.
Yes, that was a great start by Ferrari. There was some question, certainly in Juan Pablo Montoya's mind, that maybe he might be able to do something off the start. Look at this, Toyota's there. That's Cristiano de Mata who's run wide, and Olivier Panis had gone through, and you can see Räikkönen, here we are on board with him now, trying to get round in 14th place, trying to get round very aggressively. Cristiano de Mata, one of the tightest corners on the circuit, and not managing to make it stick. Here comes Trulli though, resisting the attention of Jenson Button in the BAR, who appears to have lost ground at the start to Takuma Sato.
Indeed he does. Michael Schumacher leads then, is 1.7 ahead of Montoya, it says there, but in between them is Rubens Barrichello. And I have to say, we've got a problem there with a Jordan smoking heavily. Is that an overfill, or is that the beginning of an engine problem? Still smoke coming out as he's heading down the straight, so maybe early signs of an engine problem there for Jordan. Michael Schumacher leads the first ever lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and Barrichello already 1.5 seconds adrift, and look at them in the background jostling for position. That's Coulthard trying to make his way past Mark Webber.
Yep, the Jaguar obviously got a pretty good start there. Webber behind him in 10th place. Not been a great weekend so far for the Jaguar team. Webber qualified in 14th place. That is the Renault team. They're getting ready, it looks like, to receive Fernando Alonso. We saw a piece of something black flying up halfway around that first lap, and I just wonder if it's a bit of Alonso's front wing. Here it is, yes, you see he's lost a big chunk of his front wing, and he's come in after what was a very difficult qualifying session for him yesterday with all kinds of brake problems. And it's been a miserable weekend for Alonso, and he's already lost time, as you can see, having to come in for a very, very early pit stop. We're expecting teams to be divided between 2 and 3 stops here this afternoon as Raikkonen attacks Felipe Massa, and that'll mean the first scheduled stops around about lap 10. But as you can see, plenty of fast and furious action already down in the pit lane. Here we go, Klein trying to find a way past Raikkonen. This is the battle down towards the back here. 15th place here at Bahrain, and once again down the main straight. There you can see Coulthard behind Webber, with Massa in the Sauber also following along, and the McLaren doesn't seem to have the straight line speed there to tackle the Jaguar. Here's Klein. This time he's not going to have a go at Raikkonen.
Panis is pitting in the Toyota, so he had a very skinny level of fuel, and that is Ralf Schumacher off the road. A mistake there, goes over the powdery stuff. It's a bit like a pastry mix, the stuff they got on the outside of the racetrack here that normally would be covered in grass at a European racetrack. I'm told they're going to replace that with concrete for next year because it really has caused a lot of dramas. It's very loose. Stone's coming back onto the track, and Ralf Schumacher losing a lot of time out there and still travelling slowly, James.
And places as well. He is going slow. You can see all the mess coming out of his wheels there. This stuff's obviously coated his tyres. Here's another look at what happened, Martin.
And here he goes with another run up the inside then of Sato, and this is into turn 1. What's happening now? Sato says no, you're not having that, and they touch, and it's probably damaged the left rear of Ralf Schumacher's car. Sato tried to come back at him round the outside. That was always going to end in an accident, although Sato will feel that he really did have an equal chance to turn into that corner, and Ralf should have given him a bit more space, because look, he knows he's there. He doesn't have to look in his mirrors to see that. He's right alongside him. Ralf should have now moved right and given him some space. No point whatsoever in pinching him into that apex. And if that's damaged his left rear suspension, which surely it's given it a good old whack, then that is going to put him out of the race for at least a number of laps, if not the whole afternoon. And he seems to be just building up a bit more speed now, James.
He does indeed. Just looking at Takuma Sato's lap times, it appears that he's not been damaged by that as Ralf Schumacher dives into the pit lane. So Sato, at the moment, the car seems not to have sustained any damage to the front suspension, but Ralf Schumacher got problems. And you know, Martin, you're going back to France last year, the last time that Ralf Schumacher stood on a podium at Grand Prix. His form really does seem to have dipped, and his luck as well. Here, lovely mechanic's eye view. Ted, what can you tell us?
Yes, that's right. Patrick Head's taking a very, very close look at the rear suspension on that corner. He's given it the thumbs up. They've sent him away.
Oh, sorry, Ted, to interrupt you, but look at that. I think it's fair to say that that is possibly engine related. I know the Ilmore people back in England are pretty sensitive about us misdiagnosing an engine blow-up, but would you say that was a blow-up?
You don't know what goes in there. You don't know if it's hydraulic fluid getting into the exhaust, but it looked like one bank of the V10 engine had a pretty big failure. Yes, standing up there, no doubt about it. Ralf went out, but he wouldn't have pitted if he'd have felt the car was 100%. You'd do a lap or two. If Ralf pitted as a precaution, that was even more silly than nipping Sato into that apex. This is going to be a replay then on the overrun, under braking, so often where an engine fails, and boom, off it goes. And it's when the engine's unloaded, some white pieces coming out of the back, also through the exhaust, also suggesting the internals of that engine have been having a talk with each other. I see the Williams mechanics out in the pit lane again, down in front of us. So is this a Montoya first stop, or is it Ralf in for another look at his car? As I say, I'm amazed. And Ferrari in 2 then. Michael Schumacher pits from the lead, and down to 100 kilometers per hour, and the men are ready for him. There it goes. So a stunning first part of the race for Michael Schumacher.
But possibly explained by how early he's coming in. You can see we've still got 48 of the 57 to go, so he's not even done 10 laps yet before making his first stop. So once again, Ferrari being very, very aggressive on a Saturday afternoon with their fuel strategy. You qualify now in Formula One with the fuel with which you do the first stint of the Grand Prix, and Ferrari very keen to get the front row of the grid. Remember last year when Michael Schumacher found himself often in the midfield, like 5th, 6th, 7th on the grid, and got into problems as a result. Into the pits also coming David Coulthard in the McLaren. He's refueling and taking tyres on.
And Webber too, they were nose to tail, so this is a mechanic race. Can he get out in front? And Coulthard has got to run on Webber, but they've released Webber. And where is Webber? There it is. It was always going to be close. Looks to me like Coulthard's going to get it if he gets off the pit lane limiter first. Surely Coulthard got out of the pit lane. Yes, he did. So mechanics just doing a better job there at McLaren, and that's an important move for David Coulthard. And we're hearing that Ralf Schumacher has done the fastest sector in the middle of anybody so far during the Grand Prix, in the middle part of the lap. So he did stop for a precautionary look. What on earth was that all about?
Well, indeed, I suppose you do have to be careful. But here's the order then at the moment. Schumacher having made that stop, he rejoins 6th behind Jenson Button. The first 5 have not stopped yet. Barrichello, Montoya, Trulli, Sato and Button, the 2 BARs, underlining really the performance they've shown at the start of this season. There you can see the rest of the runners out to the top 16. And here Juan Pablo Montoya, who will now take the lead as Rubens Barrichello in the sister Ferrari comes in 1 lap after teammate Michael Schumacher. So Montoya now leads, and the question is, how much more fuel has he got on board than Michael Schumacher? There is Montoya, that's the answer.
He's
not much
going.
more. And Barrichello's stuck.
He's not going anywhere. Looks like he's not in gear, and away he goes. There's a car coming alongside him. He just misses what I think was a Renault coming in the pits. The Renault moves into his garage. Montoya away, then he'll be much closer to Barrichello than he was before the pit stops began. 10 laps then, 10 laps complete. The leader is 11 laps into the Grand Prix. Loads of action. There's Barrichello rejoining into turn 1. Montoya does the same, and behind him the Renault of Trulli.
Yep, Sato was leading the Bahrain Grand Prix. He is now in the pits. Jenson Button is now leading the Grand Prix with Michael Schumacher behind him, but we'd expect Button to make a stop perhaps in the next lap or possibly a lap after that. So a very tidy start to the Grand Prix for the BAR team. Pretty frenetic for everybody else. There you can see the lead battle, and oh, how I hope we get to talk about this a bit more often through 2004 and maybe next year as well, because Jenson Button is leading the Grand Prix and he has Michael Schumacher behind him. Schumacher, of course, has made a pit stop, whereas Jenson Button has not, but nevertheless it's a nice moment for us all to look at, and we're hoping that as BAR get more and more competitive, we'll talk about a battle for real on the racetrack where Button does not have to make an imminent pit stop.
So Button then, as you rightly say, James, leading the Grand Prix. Surely he'll pit on this lap. Normally team strategies are 1 lap apart. If they've come up with the ideal strategy, then no point in varying it too much. And of course that's a fresh set of tyres then, and some fuel ready for Jenson Button's BAR Honda, and he will tuck into the pit lane when he exits the final corner, which is just ahead of him now. Button from Michael Schumacher, then Barrichello and Montoya are effectively next on the racetrack at the moment. Heidfeld is after Montoya. He's yet to stop too in the Jordan. He's having a good afternoon.
He certainly is. He's had a very, very impressive start to the Grand Prix as Jenson Button pits on lap 13 out of 57 here in Bahrain. It's been a good first stint for him, but he's going to be a fair chunk of time, obviously, behind Michael Schumacher when he rejoins. You need about 25, 28 seconds to make a pit stop here. There's a problem for Button, there's a problem.
Car was up in the air, the rear jack seemed a long time coming down for some reason. Couldn't see if they were still having to check a wheel nut, but that's going to put him even further behind his teammate. But it's not going to cost him a position, it seems, James, on the track. No,
we saw Takuma Sato there swinging through the bottom of our screen, so he's still behind Sato. What it does mean, though, is without that, he would have leapfrogged Sato, undoubtedly. So that couple of seconds lost for Jenson Button with that problem in the pit stop, hopefully we'll find out exactly what it was from our pit crew, has cost Jenson a position that he could have had anyway.
This is Klein and Massa. Klein, as ever, charging up the inside and just forces Massa, really, to run wide. And a great move. What a hard, challenging afternoon we're seeing from young Klein. That was fair and hard, and Massa really should have seen it coming. Not too much he could do about it, though. Klein just launched it in there.
So we've had the first round of pit stops in the first ever Grand Prix in the Middle East here in Bahrain. And as things begin to settle down a little bit now, Michael Schumacher leads on lap 13 from Rubens Barrichello, Montoya, Trulli, Heidfeld, and there you can see Heidfeld and Jenson Button, I think it was, having a bit of a scrap as well. There was Sato. There goes Jenson Button through, and Heidfeld yet to make a pit stop. He was then as high as 5th place. Fast and furious stuff here in Bahrain. Somebody went onto the dirt there in front of us. Who is that? Oh, there's Jenson Button. Sato's made a mistake, unsighted by somebody in front of him, and I think we've cut away from it. Just an unfortunate moment, because it looked to me like Jenson Button was going to get past Takuma Sato, who definitely lost momentum there. We were riding on board with him, and we saw some dust in front of us. There we can look at the two Jordans now. They are circulating in 16th and 17th places.
I've just looked out of the window, James, as you were explaining that, and Button is ahead. Button came off the corner with a lot more speed, and it's showing me here on the computer that Button is ahead of Sato, and it's the way it looks to me, as I'm sure he got... which one of those two is in front? It's Button in front.
It's Button in front, but look at the front wing of Sato. Look at that. It's all buckled and bent. Clearly he ran a bit wide up over that curve, and he's damaged the front of that car. So a very promising run from Takuma Sato comes to naught. Here it is.
Yeah, he's going to go. There's a horrible secondary curve. He's lost a lot of structure in his front wing. He'll get a huge amount of understeer. The front sliding across the racetrack. Surely he'll lose too much time. He'll have to come in. And what is that? That's what unsighted him. The car was running wide before the corner. Unsighted him just... no, that is Sato himself running wide earlier on onto the pit straight. That was the incident itself, as Sato then damages his front wing, will now have to pit, otherwise he could well get black flag with that.
Yeah, I think what happened was, as we cut to an onboard shot of Jenson Button as that moment happened, that explains the sequence of events. Look at the sparks coming off from the underneath of this car. Sato very, very keen to get back to the pits as quickly as he possibly can. He's still running in 6th place at the moment, because that was the sort of margin he had over David Coulthard behind him, who was going to inherit 6th place when he pits. This is Fernando Alonso, and that's Felipe Massa in the Sauber in front of us, and this is the battle for 12th.
Yeah, so recovering Alonso had to pit for a new nose cone, and Massa holding down 12th, Alonso up to 13th, Ralf Schumacher 14th, just behind them. Sato pits for a new nose and front wing, as expected. He could not carry on with that, so Sato then was 5th, will now fall down the field. There it goes.
Amazing how fast they can change the nose of a Formula One car, and Sato goes out again.
The problem with that is, James, it's not really a pit stop window for him. He's on a 3-stopper this afternoon, but that's going to compromise him. They'll have to fill it a little bit. But, you know, at least sometimes if you're within the window, you can make that stop that you would have to have made anyway within a few laps and not take too much pain for it. But I don't think that was the case for Takuma Sato. There then is the fight between Massa, Alonso and Ralf Schumacher. Alonso with a good run at him, but nowhere to go as they run into the tight chicanes of turns 6 and 7.
You can see there Sato rejoining 14th behind Ralf Schumacher, now up to 13th place after that earlier incident, the clash with Sato himself. We might get another one in a minute. Here's Alonso and Massa making himself very wide in the racetrack, not really giving Alonso an opportunity to get past him.
Got a good run on him in the slipstream. He's better under braking. Surely Alonso can make that one work. It's too dirty on the inside. He didn't, and Massa's driving very defensively, slowing the lot of them down, and Ralf Schumacher surely is steering right at the back of Alonso now, but we're looking at the back of Massa. He can stay with him through the final turn at the bottom of this hill. He's got a great chance of a slipstream down the pit straight. The layout is so inducive to overtaking. Now this is crucial. Massa goes in early. That tends to be his driving style, and it was a bit defensive on top. There's quite a toe that Alonso's going to need if it's going to pay off for him. Over the start-finish line they go, 1.1 kilometres, and he's getting the merest slipstream really, and he's going to take a lunge up the inside. Ralf thinking about following him. None of it working.
Well, I mentioned at the beginning that this is a track which very much rewards a nice powerful engine, and in the back of that Sauber is the current Ferrari engine. It's the same as the one Michael Schumacher has under his bonnet as well. It's the new specification for 2004, built to last a whole Grand Prix weekend engine. The Renault is 20 horsepower better off than it was last year. It too is a completely new design, but they're still giving away a lot of power to Ferrari, and certainly Sauber putting that engine to good advantage. And you can see behind Alonso is Ralf Schumacher. He's got the BMW, widely regarded as being one of the most powerful. So clearly there's 3 cars here. All of them want to be moving around a little bit, and lots more action to come from this little scrap, I fancy.
Trouble is, Alonso's getting more understeer as he goes through the corner in the slipstream. This time he's a little bit closer up the inside, but it's a tighter angle, but he's made it work this time around. He'd been having a few half goes at getting through. Ralf Schumacher follows him through, as so often happens, and Alonso stopped having the little half goes and set the car up beautifully for a proper attempt.
Second pit stop of the afternoon for race leader Michael Schumacher, 8.1 seconds. This is lap 25 of 57, so approaching half distance, and that pretty much confirms he's going to make a third stop here this afternoon. One of the reasons for that, Martin, is that all the teams really were concerned about brake wear, weren't they? And obviously the less fuel you carry, the better. Look at this though, as he comes out of the pits, he comes alongside Jarno Trulli, and Trulli very generously lets him through. But that was a scrap for position, because Trulli has only made 1 stop, Michael Schumacher 2, and Trulli really got out of his way there, didn't he?
Yeah, but there was no point in tripping over him, was there, really? I mean, he's not racing Michael this afternoon, and I think Trulli was smart enough to avoid what happened between Sato and Ralf Schumacher, because Michael he was earlier on the throttle, had a better run out of the corner. Ralf Schumacher also pits then. We've seen David Coulthard pit, make his second stop, as has Webber. So we're in the zone now for the second stop of most of the 3 stoppers.
And Trulli will be mindful of the fact that the incident involving himself and Rubens Barrichello is under investigation. Here comes Ralf Schumacher.
Yes, and Ralf Schumacher has knocked over a couple of his mechanics. They're picking themselves up, Ted.
Yes, he just went too soon. Carl Gayton, the chief mechanic, did not release him. Maybe there was a problem with the clutch slipping or something like that with the transmission. But Ralf went too soon. He sort of knocked over his fuel man. They fell to the ground. They're okay, though. The usual fuel man's gone back into the garage. Montoya's coming in next. Actually, no, he's rock hard, this fuel man. He's got up. He's okay. He will service Montoya next.
Yeah, just looking out of the window, everybody seems to be okay. I think they've swapped the primary fuel man, and they have got a backup one, so we'll see when Montoya makes his stop. We'll have a look. Everybody else looks to be okay down in the Williams garages. Into the pits comes Jarno Trulli from what was 5th place for him in the Renault.
Alonso absolutely flying out on the racetrack. Meanwhile, in the sister Renault, as he does a recovery drive back from having a damaged nose cone earlier in the race. Alonso out on track, going faster than just about anybody at the moment, as his teammate Trulli rejoins the racetrack after his second stop. Barrichello's yet to stop. There is Trulli. Montoya's yet to stop for the second time. Michael Schumacher has. Button still travelling very quickly up into 4th place now, and he too has got to make his second stop quite soon. But the BARs were the later stoppers in the first round, weren't they? BAR clearly filled up a little bit better on the grid.
Yes, they were. Mark Webber we saw just going off the last corner there into the dust. He is having a scrap this afternoon with, well, he was having a scrap with David Coulthard, but he's lost a lot of ground by going off the track. Here's Rubens Barrichello. Ferrari ready in the pit lane, I think, to receive him, and Williams also ready to receive Juan Montoya. Barrichello looks like he's going through to is that Barrichello? It's Michael Schumacher. No, it's Barrichello, so he goes through to complete another lap. Ferrari is standing by, waiting for him to come in.
Barrichello electing to take another lap. Was that an error, or was that intention? I would think they would give him that nod to go around one more time. Montoya pits then. He was second behind Barrichello. They've leapfrogged Michael Schumacher because Schumacher's already stopped, of course, and we've got Button in the pit too. So Button had been gently catching Montoya and Trulli. So an important stage of the Grand Prix for Jenson Button. Let's hope that rear jack is not a problem this time around. And away he goes, please. And it still seemed a bit slow out there, didn't it? But Button away then. He's got a great chance of mixing it, I think, with Montoya and Trulli this afternoon.
And there is Jarno Trulli going through the frame, you can see. So he's not been able to leapfrog him in the pit stops. As you said, Martin, he was lapping very, very quickly coming up to that stop. He was probably hopeful that he might be able to do it. And once again, Jenson Button, having done the hard work on the racetrack, found that a slowish pit stops prevented him from making up a place, because he would have had Sato at his first round of stops, and he probably would have had Trulli there in the second round if he'd had a slightly better stop.
Yeah, I don't think he lost quite that much, but nonetheless, he's been very much cruising up behind them, so he's got a great chance this afternoon if Jenson Button can carry on that pace. We've just seen Fisichella and Alonso pit together. They were fighting over 6th and 7th. And we'll just have to let the computer sort itself out now as Barrichello comes in from the lead. This time he does come in to a garage of red overalled men, 22 of them working away, refueling, cleaning the radiators, changing the tyres. That looks very fast, doesn't it? And away he goes. No problems this time for Rubens Barrichello, cleanly away. Oh, Webber off the gas. What was that all about? That's halfway down the straight. So a little test there. Was it a misshift or was it Mark playing some games? Alonso has got half a chance of a slipstream there. Jaguar, we know, is fast in a straight line, so he's got a strange. Then Webber very late on the brakes. Alonso understeering wide. Look at the acceleration difference as Webber disappears over the hill. Some pretty scruffy driving going on here.
I tell you what, Martin, as a non-driver of one of these cars, it really always surprises me is how quickly the car in front pulls away out of a slow corner. You know, you nail the gas, it just goes, while the other guy's going slowly through the corner. And then, of course, as he builds up speed, it concertinas again. Very disconcerting for us to watch it like that. What's it like for a driver?
Well, it is disconcerting because you can so easily run into him, frankly, and lose your nose. Your sensors are hyper, and your eyes are out on stalks, just trying to keep on top of that concertina effect. And Alonso then nowhere near close enough to have a go down into turn 1, so didn't even bother with one of those little feigns that he's been doing. But this is for 8. But Alonso's pace, they're now losing 3 seconds a lap as they're fighting each other. Alonso's gone from 31s to 34s. Hopefully he's not just made a great move out of camera shot there, but Alonso's got a great chance of catching Coulthard. I don't think he'll catch Button in 5th, but if he carries on the sort of pace he's been doing, Coulthard and Sato will also come under pressure from Alonso, providing he can get past Webber. Here we go, we're up alongside and nowhere to go, down into the turn 9 and 10 again. And for some reason, Webber is very slow up there.
This is where he gave him a little pause, didn't he?
This is better, he's closer. Now he's got in that sweet. That is naughty, and Alonso says you should not do that. And he's right to say that. But can he nail him up the inside? It's a right-hander coming up. Surely Webber has got the space he needs. And I think Mark, we saw some frustration from him in Malaysia at the last Grand Prix, pushing people around off the start line. I think he's just being a touch naughty there. Well,
it's very interesting. Couple of things there we want to talk about afterwards. One of them where he appeared to slow. Was it a brake test, or did he have some kind of problem, Mark Webber? But certainly that was one thing. And I think Alonso will definitely want to have a word with him there about that change of direction. The rule, as I understand it, Martin, is you can move across once to block and that's it. And Alonso, you saw his hand coming off the wheel. This is great stuff here. Pictures coming from FOM TV. And once again, bringing us very, very close to the action here in Bahrain. And this track providing action. Look at this, though. Alonso, has he got through? I think he has. We didn't quite see it, but Mark Webber obviously made some sort of mistake into turn 1, and Alonso has finally got past him.
Yes, I think Mark did only move once that time, James. It's when he moves the problem. It was too late. Alonso had committed. He'd started the move up alongside. You can't, if you can go into a defensive position, but you've got to do that before the other driver's coming up alongside you. Now Alonso can get back on it. He's got a chance to catch Sato, who's just 12 seconds, and there is the earlier action. As I said, he moved the once and stayed on the inside, but it was too late to do that. Alonso probably should have spent more time thinking about the corner than putting his hand up, because you can't see that as the driver. You can't look in the mirror and see somebody making hand signals. And there's the mistake. Webber outbrakes himself in turn 1 and oh so nearly loses his nose on the rear wheel of the Renault. Here we're going to see another angle. Watch him just swipe across, and in fact it doesn't look quite so close from that angle. Alonso through. Now he can charge after Sato. That's, I say, a dozen seconds down the road. And Sato is pushing Coulthard, just a second between them. So Coulthard, here we go. Coulthard's going to come under pressure from Sato and Alonso in the near future.
Here, though, is Fisichella, and a little gentle spin there. Contact with Ralf Schumacher.
Ralf really is in the wars. Coulthard's slow at this stage of the Grand Prix. Doesn't have any pace. He's doing 1:33s. He needs to be doing 1:31, so what's that all about? We don't know if he's got a problem. We know maybe he doesn't like this set of tyres. despite having a little bit of an aerodynamic deficiency on the rear wing. Sato's still got plenty of straight line speed. There's not enough space for two of them in there. Coulthard's got the line for the left-hander, but Sato nails it around the outside.
Great move by Takuma Sato. He gave every indication that he wasn't going to have a go into that corner, but then at the very, very last minute, he went for it, and he made it stick. They were side by side, weren't they, through there? And I guess that's what that corner sequence is designed for, isn't it? If you go around the inside, the guy on the outside can keep his foot in it, and they can go side by side. It's proof that it works.
Yeah, the switch back, it does work well. Sato was lucky that Coulthard gave him the breathing space through there. Coulthard tried to squeeze him into the apex. They both just left him enough room. And, well, we've seen a lot of contact here already. But Sato, unlike Ralf Schumacher, did go wider and give enough space so there was no contact.
Lap 39 of the Bahrain Grand Prix, the first ever Grand Prix in the desert. It's certainly going to be one we're going to remember for quite a long time. The two Ferraris are quite comfortable at the front, but really all the other positions are up for grabs here this afternoon, including Juan Montoya's third place. Jenson Button in fourth for BAR is looking very, very strong at the moment. He took 7/10 of a second out of the Colombian on the last lap. This is Jarno Trulli, who's just made his third and final pit stop of the afternoon. The Renaults and the Williams both tending to pit earlier than the BAR of Jenson Button, who's slightly out of sequence with them. He's running a couple of laps longer, and Button is closing up. He's 4 seconds behind Montoya now. If he can just do the damage in the next few laps up to Montoya's stop, he might well be able to get a second podium in a row, hey?
Yes, I think he's got a chance of that anyway. Look, he's now easily within the mirrors of Montoya, but for me what's more crucial is how quick is Trulli on his outlap. How long can Jenson stay out there? Can he do 1 or 2 laps more as the Williams then of Montoya pits? Jenson Button goes through. Let's hope he's got at least 2 more laps, then he's got a chance of leapfrogging the pair of them. Certainly Trulli, Montoya would be, I think he'd need Montoya to have a very slow stop or a slow outlap to leapfrog him this time, but he's got enough pace to beat him anyway, I think. Montoya away with a solid stop then.
Nice point of view there of the front jack man. You can see the man who puts the jack under the nose of the car and lifts it up. Nice camera there down in the pit lane, giving a feel for what it's like. Incredible heat as a car comes at you at 65 miles an hour to come to a standstill in the pit lane, on a dusty pit lane as well. They're brave guys, those front jack men. There is Trulli, so Montoya safely in front of him. But these are the critical laps now for Jenson Button. The podium in Malaysia 2 weeks ago. How emotional was that for him? Can he get another one here? He's got to push, 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 push in these next few laps.
And I've noticed that Trulli's lost a bit of time lapping the Jordans. 1 to go still, as you can clearly see, which leaps out of the way. Pantano getting out of the way there, and Trulli has, as you say, got to push as hard as he knows how, because Button has a great chance of Button's done a 1:31.0. That's a good lap time. That's matching the leading Ferraris. And Alonso flying too. He surely is going to clear David Coulthard pretty soon too. We're in the zone of the third stops of the afternoon, and Jenson Button needs some of the best laps of the afternoon too to really make. Does he go in the pit lane? Yes, he does, unfortunately. Surely that's not enough to get him past Montoya. Will it get him past Trulli?
Well, it's going to be very, very close. We think it was about 15 seconds that Jenson Button had over Juan Montoya, and you need over 20 really to retain a place. Needs to be a good stop here then by the BAR team, and so far so good. Tense moments for all these mechanics. They're playing in the big league now. Here he comes. Montoya goes past us. He has retained his third place. There he is, as you can see going through your screens now. So Button didn't have enough laps in his pocket.
Yeah, but yes, he did. He was never going to clear Montoya, but look, he has got ahead of Jarno Trulli. So that is a good run then for Jenson Button. It did work out for him. Now he can hunt down the Williams of Montoya. Great stuff. Barrichello then ducks into the pit lane for his third and scheduled stop. And Michael Schumacher will, of course, retake the lead. This is looking very comfortable for the Italian team.
Yeah. Barrichello stopping, nice overhead shot there as he goes out, 6.9, nice smooth stop. A very brave Renault mechanic just crossing the pit lane, and the two Ferraris comfortably ahead of Juan Montoya. And off the track then goes Zsolt Baumgartner in the Minardi with what looks like smoke pouring out of the engine cover there at the back.
Montoya sounded sick as he went past. Some strange noise going on as he went past. And look, Button right up behind him. There are 3 fights to watch out for. This one for 3rd place. And Alonso still fighting hard with Sato over 6th place. Ralf Schumacher beginning to catch Coulthard for the final points position. And did I hear correctly as they passed the commentary box? Is there a slight misfire coming from that Williams? Now Button just steering a 2nd podium position in the face, in the shape of the rear wing of Montoya, and he's through. I think Montoya's got a problem. No, he's gone in too deep. Montoya cuts back inside him. Jensen outbraked himself. Montoya doesn't have any power. What's the point in trying to keep him behind you when your engine is sick? Montoya struggling. Surely he's going to come under further pressure from Trulli, Sato, Alonso and Coulthard. And Coulthard cruises into the pits out of 8th place. Schumacher had just passed him, and Coulthard, for some reason, surprising his team. Clearly some kind of drama with the car. It was actually stationary. Ted, are you down there?
Yeah, strange, weird. This isn't like McLaren. He's come in, he looked to the pit wall, sort of looked at Ron Dennis. They exchanged kind of, what are you doing here looks. The pit crew weren't ready. They hadn't been called. I didn't see, what did they do to the car in the pit?
Nothing physical, but I wonder whether they reset something.
No, I don't even think they had time to do that. Strange thing. It must be some sort of miscommunication. Now as he conked out at the end of the pit lane.
He actually stopped short of the pits like it was braking anyway, and I think they couldn't do anything with it, sent him. But clearly then, Coulthard with a technical problem out of the Grand Prix. No points for McLaren.
That
is
the back of Montoya's car. And we are riding with Fernando Alonso.
This is for position.
Sato, I think, has already gone through. We've just cut to it as the 2nd in that car in that train. The Sato-Alonso battle, which was the battle for 6th place, now becomes the battle for 5th. Montoya losing more and more ground.
BA Honda then 3rd and 5th. Sato appears to have the measure, doesn't he, of Alonso now. They're pretty much similar on pace. He's not making mistakes. Alonso's going to have to find something special. There we go then, and Montoya, defenseless Montoya, just having to watch the Honda powered BAR and the Renault easily cruise past him. Here it is again. This is the scrap, as you say, James, now for 5th position. Sato, who is under investigation after the end of the Grand Prix for an incident with Ralf Schumacher, and we don't know if that'll give him a penalty. Won't give him a penalty during this Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Well, Montoya going to fall into the clutches of Mark Webber, is he? Quite possibly. Let's have a word from Ted.
It's a problem, I think, with the gear changing. It sounds like every time he goes past, he's got a misfire, but I think it's probably gear change, gear selection, or even hydraulic problem.
Well, we'll find out, I'm sure, at the end of the Grand Prix, which has undoubtedly been a success, the first Grand Prix here in Bahrain. It's been a huge success for Ferrari. Ross Brawn has time for his customary banana on the pit wall. His brain wasn't really called into much use today because the 2 Ferraris really had the thing bought and paid for, largely thanks to the weather, but also reliability. Once again, a critical part of their success, because McLaren and Williams having problems today with reliability. Neither McLaren finishing, and Williams are going to get 7th with Ralf Schumacher, and touch and go whether Montoya will hold on to a points finish or whether Webber will get it. Well, the crowd here in Bahrain have seen Formula One for the first time. Judging by the noise, they like what they see as Michael Schumacher crosses the start-finish line. Rubens Barrichello put on a real spurt there, just in case the finish line was somewhere different from where the checkered flag was. It wasn't, of course. It's a 1-2 again for Ferrari. Barrichello finishing just over a second behind his teammate. It's 3 in a row then for Schumacher. First time he's done that since the 2000 season. And there is Jenson Button. It's 2 podiums in a row. Come on, you beauty, say the men on the pit wall. What a great run for Jenson Button and BAR.
The Ferraris creating their own desert storm. Jenson Button tasting the local non-alcoholic brew. He had a very tasty drive, though. We will hear from them all, and there's Mark Blundell's view coming up. You are back with us in Bahrain. The first Bahrain Grand Prix won by Michael Schumacher. Another Ferrari 1-2 then. Maximum for Ferrari, win number 73 for Schumacher. He has scored in the last 16. No one else on pole, no one else on the top of the podium in 2004. Barrichello, the 17th time he has followed Schumacher home. Button, brilliant, third place. Trulli, fourth in the Renault. Then Sato, equaling his best ever, fifth. Alonso in the second Renault, sixth. Ralf Schumacher, eventful drive for him in the Williams, seventh. And Mark Webber scoring a precious point for Jaguar. Championship 30 out of 30 for Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello in second place. Button third on 15. Montoya fourth on 12. Neck and neck the Renault drivers, Alonso and Trulli. Ralf Schumacher 7 points. Sato and David Coulthard on 4. You know what's coming? 51 for Ferrari, 22 Renault. Williams and BAR level pegging in third place. McLaren will be working very hard over the next few weeks, only 4 points. Sauber and Jaguar 1 apiece. Okay, let us hear from Mr. Perfection.
Michael, congratulations on another win. I know that the team was slightly concerned about the brakes before the race. How was it?
In the end, we were able to conserve everything just to the point, so it was on a knife edge, but we did it, and it wasn't as bad and difficult as maybe I think it was last year in Canada, where it was really a different story. So this one was easier to control.
Rubens, first of all, tell us about the incident in the pit lane with Trulli.
Well, I was exiting the pit lane, and the asphalt. There is a difference between the asphalt that you actually get going to the asphalt that you come in quick. And I was spinning my wheels. It was very difficult, so I had to go to the faster lane, and Trulli was coming very fast. When I saw him, I actually had to brake and avoid him. I hope there's no problem, because I really had no intention of closing the door on him. It was just the fact that here you don't have the speed to get offline, and then he was coming much faster.
Patrick, first of all, we were kind of listening to Juan Pablo spluttering a bit. We weren't quite sure what the problem at the end was.
He was losing gears. We had a gearbox problem, and then he had a hydraulic problem at the end, which meant that he lost the throttle. So he was sort of walking wounded from 10 or 12 laps to go or so.
And Ralph's race, bit mess?
Well, bloody mess, really. I mean, he had that bump with Sato, drove in very slowly and lost a lot of time, put new tyres on the car, and then he was okay, but too far behind. So not good.
Crisis is maybe too strong a word, but clearly there are some big problems at McLaren Mercedes at the moment.
You're quite right. Crisis is too strong words. I mean, you never really know the outcome of races until your car's finished. You don't know your true pace. And you know, Kimi made a good start and collected picked up a lot of places, but at the point at which he stopped, we still hadn't taken the benefit of being on a two-stop strategy, which would have certainly helped him into a better position. David struggled with a couple of problems, so it's not really indicative of our true pace, but we've certainly got work to do on all areas, and that's what we'll do. We'll just get on with it. We know what we have to do, we just do it.
It's disappointing, there's no question. There's not one member of McLaren Mercedes is happy with the way this is going, but you know, we can keep talking about how disappointed we are, but it doesn't actually achieve anything. It's just getting on with the work, and they have the resources, they have the people, and we go testing.
We're in the middle of a little party in the paddock here in Bahrain. Jensen joined his roommates this week, and that didn't slow you down either, did it?
I wouldn't say roommates, no. I don't think I can sleep next to you.
Villa mates, anyway. How good was that for you, that drive?
Fantastic. It was a great race. It was full of action as well for me, or around me anyway. I had Takuma and Ralph in front colliding, and then we had a problem in the pits, so we're very happy to be third.
You were a glum chap after qualifying yesterday.
I know, I'm sorry about that. But it's great to be sixth, but you know, when you've got a car that should be on the first two rows, probably the first row, it was a little bit disappointing.
Let's just take a look at one or two of the incidents in the race. First of all, your teammate Takuma and Ralf Schumacher. Mark, give us your views first of all. I think we're looking at Ralf Schumacher a bit at this, aren't we?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, it's a clear-cut Ralf Schumacher issue. I don't think he left Takuma any room whatsoever. I don't know what you feel, Jensen. You've just seen the replay for the first time.
I don't think he expected Takuma to have such good traction on the first turn. And he probably can't see him because the side of the cars are so high now.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, but I think he definitely put him into the corner a little bit too tight. And we also saw a DC move in Sato, and it was completely clean, completely different.
What about your teammate? He did a fabulous job today. I think 5th equals his best ever.
He did do a great job, and it's fantastic to have both cars in points. He was really quick out there, actually. He really was. So it's great that he's got a 5th position, and hopefully he'll be better next time.
You've experienced 1 or 2 mechanical problems in your time, haven't you? But I won't ask you to talk about this one, Mark. I want you to talk about Kimi Raikkonen and the sort of kebab effect on that McLaren.
Well, kebab effect it definitely looked like. Raikkonen comes in here, he backs up the throttle pedal. We're going to see a big flame what shoots out of the left bank of the engine. We have to get the official answer from McLaren, whether it's a technical failure, an engine issue or something else. But, you know, there's nothing Kimi can do. He's having a terrible time at this point in time. You know, 3 races are gone, no points scored whatsoever. A complete difference to what we've got with Jensen.
I got to say, 0 out of 30 for him. You had a couple of successive podiums. It just shows how quickly things can change in this sport, because he was runner-up last year.
It does show how quickly things can change. But I think a lot of people expected us to have moved forward from last year, but maybe not quite as much as we have.
We've got Takuma Sato going past David. Fair to say David wasn't probably operating at full throttle at that time, Jensen.
Well, I think you can see, Jensen, this is a totally different deal here. Sato runs up the inside, but DC's actually given him the room. Sato's also made a bit more room as well, and it's a different incident to what we saw with Ralph.
I think if you look at the difference in speed on braking, DC must have had a problem there, but no, it was clean, and I think Sato did a good job.
We can't say too much because he's also a Villa mate as well. So.
Oh, okay, absolutely. Listen, I was around 1 and 2 of the BAR people when you were closing in on Juan Pablo at the end there, and he nipped back at you, I know, but you went past him and claimed the podium.
Yeah, definitely. I think we were a little bit lucky because his car was deteriorating. I didn't quite expect the corner to come up so quick there. That's why I went so wide. But I think he had missed a gear on the exit, and I was able to get by.
Well, I think it's fair to say we haven't been sharing the Villa all weekend. You definitely have got a lot more maturity about you, and the first podium was great, but the second one, how's that feel?
Fantastic. You know, it's for me it was just as exciting because to get 2 in a row is fantastic, and we've really worked hard for this all winter, and hopefully we can continue this way.
Just finally, I know you're an ambitious chap, Jensen, and you're not going to be happy until you're on the top step of that podium, are you?
No way. You know, it's going to take a little while. You know, the Ferrari's a long way in front, but we'll get there.
We appreciate you joining us. I know not other people want to talk to you. Thanks very much for dropping by. Cheers. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Tuesday night on ITV1, do not miss the Champions League quarter-final decider live from Highbury, Arsenal against Chelsea. Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock, also on 1. Speed Sunday keeps the motor running. And in 3 weeks' time, we return. We're back in Europe. We go to Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. Extensive coverage throughout the weekend, April the 24th and the 25th. So back-to-back podiums for Jenson Button. That is absolutely marvellous. But Michael Schumacher drives Ferrari home with a hat-trick of victories already under his belt. Good night.